So let me know on Patreon or similar if this is useful to you, but I'm trying to remember to comment about books that I find interesting or relevant for people of similar interest in mine. I read about as much in Scandinavian as in English, so a fair amount of these will be about books that are in Scandinavian languages, but I'll review them in English. While we were in Stockholm last month, I picked up a book called På spaning efter språkets ursprung by Sverker Johansson. So that means in search of the origin of language. Actually, I didn't even realize the in search of was part of the title because origin of language is so big there. I think the title is a little bit of a shout out to Origin of Species by Charles Darwin, which is a book that the author engages with quite a bit. What this is about is not the history of any particular language or the interrelationships of languages or the prehistory of languages that we know about, which are the kind of things that I do as a historical linguist. Rather, the question this book addresses is how, why, when did language evolve, which is not actually a very obvious question to ask in some ways. We talk all the time, we talk to ourselves, we think in language. How did we come to do that? One of the really interesting points of this book is that our closest relatives don't do anything like that, but also that their social structures are so different from ours. I was really interested to read about how, for example, chimpanzees within their own in-group distrust each other much more than we do within our in-group, and that it simply isn't workable for human beings to distrust one another and be as paranoid about one another as chimpanzees are. For example, a human woman can't safely give birth alone, but chimpanzees do it all the time because it's actually more dangerous for a chimpanzee to be around other chimpanzees at such a moment. So, there's sort of this chicken and egg question of, well, do our other capacities and proclivities precede language, or does language smooth the path for them, or is it just chicken and egg, and it's just one big cycle? And then at what point, what are we looking for in the fossil record that shows us that, language is probably developing or not? A lot of interesting questions there, a lot of reasons apparently to think that Homo erectus had language, maybe not entirely as sophisticated as ours, but a lot of reasons to think that Neanderthals had language as sophisticated as our own, and that language as sophisticated as modern language developed by the time that the last common ancestor of all human populations split up, because all human languages are equally sophisticated.